His grandpa was his uncle and also his father-in-law. His dad was his brother-in-law. His children were their own first cousins once removed, and their mother was their aunt. Phew, my head hurts. Many of us remember the old song, "I'm my own grandpa," where a jumbled mess of family relationships gets overwhelmingly confusing. We've all seen on Facebook where someone lists their relationship status as, "It's complicated." Well, I'm about to tell you a real-life story of a family that has some serious complicated relationships. Hey everybody, this is Colonel Carson with Family Tree Nuts, and recently while building a family tree for a client, I found this wild story about his second great-grandparents. The more that I discovered about them, the more that I knew that I wanted to share their story with all of you. At Family Tree Nuts, we build family trees for clients that either don't know how, don't have the time, or don't want to pay those expensive membership fees. We also make history videos all over the United States and a few countries, so if you like videos like these, be sure to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Now let me be very clear here. I mean absolutely no disrespect. I'm not making fun of these ancestors or the region that they are from. Believe it or not, genealogists find situations like these a lot more than you would even imagine. I'll start explaining this story by introducing to you the person who is related to everybody in this branch. Here's the father, grandfather, father-in-law, and uncle, Reverend David M. Smith. Reverend Smith was born on 15 July 1824 in Cherokee County, Alabama. He fought for the Confederacy in the Civil War in Company H in the 48th Alabama Infantry. He fought in the battles of Gettysburg and Chickamauga. Later in the war, he was a cobbler at a Confederate Army shoe factory in Richmond, Virginia. Reverend Smith first married Mary Langford about 1849, and on 29 March 1853, he had a son named Elijah Hughes Smith. Sadly, Reverend Smith's wife died in the early 1870s. Soon, on 15 December 1874, he married Jane Irene Beck, who was 20 years younger than him. The next year, Reverend Smith and Jane were blessed with a daughter, and they named her Mary Rosanna Smith, who was born on 9 November 1875 in Bryant, Jackson County, Alabama. Now here's where it starts to get confusing, so try to stay with me here. Reverend Smith now had a son, Elijah, born in 1853 from his first wife, and a daughter, Rosanna, born in 1875 from his second wife. Obviously, Elijah and Rosanna were half-siblings, even though they were about 22 years apart in age. Now stay with me here because we're almost to the twist. Elijah had a son named David Washington Smith on 18 July 1873. David was almost a year and a half older than his half-aunt Rosanna. The whole story isn't known, but at some point, David and Rosanna began a relationship. The couple went across the state line to neighboring Dade County, Georgia, and on 6 November 1893, they were married. The couple's first child was Laura, and born in April the following year. Laura could have been born very premature, but it's semi-safe to assume that Rosanna was pregnant when she and David eloped in Georgia. The couple had 8 children that appear to have all lived normal lives. David and Rosanna were married for about 46 years when Rosanna passed away on 22 January 1940. David died on 26 May 1950. They are buried together in Mountain View Church of God Cemetery in Jackson County, Alabama. I'm sure that many of you are asking the question, were the children normal? The short answer to that is, it appears so. And they weren't, and I use this term respectfully, as inbred as most of us would assume. If you draw it out, you will see that we all have 8 great-grandparents. DNA is random, but we usually get about the same amount of DNA from each of the 8. In genealogy, we constantly see first cousins who marry. First cousins only have 6 people for the 8 spots, with 2 people taking up 2 spots each. The children of David and Rosanna have 5 people to fill the 8 slots, with Reverend Smith filling 3 spots. It appears that the DNA was random enough in this situation to produce normal children. Most issues take place with repetitive inbreeding. We also have to consider how things were different in history. Our ancestors didn't have many of our modern day taboos, and some of the things that may seem shocking to us would be fairly normal to them. However, I have to admit, this story definitely raised my eyebrows. There are so many relationships here with double titles that I got cross-eyed until I drew them out. Help me out and comment below with as many of these titles of these double ancestors that you can think of. Wow, now we know the story of this complicated family tree. What are your thoughts? Were you shocked by the story? How would it affect you if you discovered a story like this about some of your ancestors? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. And I wonder what stories like this could be hiding in your family tree. When we discover stories about our ancestors, especially like this one, history becomes tremendously more real. The events and locations that we read about or drive by begin to have a different impact on us, and we are bestowed with a deeper, enlightened understanding. Discovering and preserving stories like this is a passion of ours, and we are proud to discover this one, share it with their descendants, and all of you. And remember, family tree nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.